Hello, aspiring CRNAs, and welcome to episode 7. I am so happy to have you here, and I'm really excited because we are going to talk about life after CRNA school. And I know for some of you, it feels like that is so far away or that it's never going to come, but it will come for you. And if whether you are, wondering if CRNA is even for you, if you're in the middle of CRNA school and you're like, there is no light at the end of this tunnel, then this episode should truly brighten up your day and help you just think about the big picture of why you're doing all this hard work, what you are looking, what are you looking forward to? What do you want? And so I really want y'all to reflect on a couple things as you're listening into this episode. So what do you want your life to look like post CRNA school? Like besides the degree and everything, like what does your life look like? What are you doing? Where are you living? How are you spending your time? So be reflecting on that. And how does a CRNA fulfill what you want at your core? Like, what do you really want? What are you going to do with the money? What are you going to do with like the flexible schedule, right? How does becoming a CRNA fulfill what you really, really want for your life, right? We have to break down and look at why we are actually putting ourselves through all this hard work, all the sacrifice, all the things, and what values are really guiding you. Is it service, leadership, traveling, building an anesthesia business or pain management or opening your own clinic, or, what is it? What is really behind those CRNA dreams? And what are you really doing this for? Maybe for your family, for kids, for your parents, whatever it may be, giving your next generation things that you didn't have, right? Paving the path for diversity, like being able to show people that look like you that they can do it too. Like what is really behind the CRNA dreams? Because at the end of the day, y'all, the degree itself, the party after graduation, getting on social with your NBCRNA pass paper, right? Those things are amazing, but they are all fleeting, right? Milestones in life are incredible and they feel incredible, and we should never downplay those. But, and don't ask me how I know, if you spend your life chasing the novelties, chasing the highs, chasing the accolades, at some point, they are never going to be enough. You are going to continually be chasing the next high, the next big thing. All right. You have to want something more. Your vision that you have for your life has to revolve around something bigger than graduation day, than having the pass piece of paper, right? Like there has to be something more to fill in the gaps. You have to we talked in the last episode about self-sabotage and worthiness, right? If you don't feel good enough, nothing is ever going to be good enough for you, and you are going to be on this constant rat race. And like I said, don't ask me how I know, but I know this intimately, right? And those people that really do get into this for the money, they really do struggle, because money is amazing. Don't get me wrong. Money is great, right? But also money has a ceiling. How much is enough, right? And money really isn't everything. It's great motivation in the short term, but it's not sustaining. And I've even said that with jobs, like the jobs can get so taxing. Like I'm like, you can offer me a lot of money and I am not working 29 hours. Like it's just not worth it. There has to be more like breath behind it. Why do you want the money? What are you going to do with the money, right? Because CRNA school, the journey there is such a big sacrifice. And if you're doing it just for the money, it's not going to be enough to sustain you in the really dark times, right? And like being right now, the market, I'm recording this in 2023. We're about to be into 2024. The market right now is amazing. The pay is amazing, right? But I am not going to take a job just for the money if there's some sketchy things happening. Like the place is sketchy, the people are sketchy, right? There are so many other things that are more important than how much money that I can make or how much money we can make, right? What's important, and I want y'all to remember this, is your mental health and how you spend your time. And if you're going to do all of this hard work to become a CRNA, then I want you to really lean into what's behind this. What is your why? Why are you choosing to spend 3 years of your life on this challenging education and spending time getting into school, right? It takes time and effort to get into school, all right? So another thing I want you to reflect on while you're listening to this is, Who do you want to become, or who do you want to be when you get all the things, right? Because it's not just enough to get the CRNA, to get the DNP, right? Who do you want to become while you're working towards your dreams? Because that is truly the purpose, not the external validations, not all the pats on the back, not that you look good, not all the accolades, right? I will say this again, you will burn out chasing the novelties in life. It will burn you out every time. And I have learned this the hard way over and over and over and over again. And recently, at the time of recording this, I was actually asked to come to my alma mater, which was Illinois State University, go Redbirds, Mennonite College of Nursing. And I was on a panel discussion of, nurse leaders, and I said something and it struck one of the nursing students, and he ended up coming up to me and he says, I want to be a CRNA so bad, but I already feel that I'm in that go, 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 make it happen hustle. He's like, what do I do to prevent burnout? And I think I had said something like, one day, it was just one day I kind of woke up. And the thing is, there is no amount of fancy cars, the house, marriage, nothing can fix what you're trying to fix inside of yourself. Like, you're going to wake up one day and you're still going to be that same person, even with all the things. And you can't run from yourself. You can't run from who you are. You can't hide out. You can't hide behind like shame and like the feeling unworthiness, and all of that is always going to come out. You have to grow into someone new. You have to heal. You have to accept your reality. You have to accept things that have happened in the past. And then you get to decide what you want to do with all of that. But I just like said to him, I was like, yeah, I said, you don't want to wake up one day and have all the things and still be unhappy. So finding your reason, finding your why, finding what's behind everything is really, really crucial so that you can enjoy the journey. And once again, not letting your worthiness as a human being be wrapped up into grades, people liking you, getting validated, and getting into school. All right. So little side note there. So with that, all of that being said, I am now going to detail kind of my life post CRNA school, hopefully to give you guys a little bit of inspiration, a little bit of ideas, because I really want this episode to be about dreaming big as to what your life could be. And I really hope you spend a little bit of time reflecting on the questions that I just asked, and just how can I make an impact, right? How can I be powerful? So before I dive into all that good stuff, a couple things that really drive me personally is I love to travel. I love luxuries. I love the feeling of freedom, choosing my own schedule, having flexible days off. And I will tell y'all that I have built my CRNA career around my life. I'm not building my life around my job. I build my life first, and then I back a job into this, right? And some of the things I love about being a CRNA is being a leader. I love making high level decisions. I love thinking quickly. I like being there for patients and families and supporting them in like vulnerable times. Like you literally make someone unconscious, like you put their brain to sleep so their brain can no longer protect them. And then I'm the person standing there protecting them. Like, I love that job, right? So a lot of the things about this profession are also a lot of the values that I strive for. Okay. So I'm going to go through a lot of FAQs that I get. And like, once again, I just sit back and like dream and think about why you are doing this and why it's going to be worth it for you and what your life is going to look like post graduation. So a lot of people ask me, where do I work post graduation? How do I choose a job? What do I do? Once again, always go back to your values. What do you want? Like, what do you want right now? When you graduate CRNA school, what do you want? What is important to you right now in this season in your life? And your priorities are allowed to change, and they will. And like I said, I have literally matched my life to a job every single time. And I'm about to make a big leap and make another big change in my CRNA job again, because I just had a second baby and my priorities and my life is different. So I am going to match what I want and put that into a job. Find a CRNA, job that matches what I want. So when I first graduated, my priorities were money and autonomy. So I had a super long commute. super long commute. It was brutal, but I made really good money and I like did my own thing. And it was nerve-wracking and it was scary. But once again, if you put the time and energy into school that it requires, you are going to know what you are doing when you get out. You have over 2,000 clinical hours. You have to have over 2,000 in clinical hours, minimum 2,000 by the time you graduate. If you put your time and energy into that, you will be ready to practice right out of school. I promise you, right? Put in the work, do your time. And I also had a lot of really diverse, awesome nursing experience that I detailed in another episode, right? So my first job, literally, I worked over 90 hours in my first 2 weeks as a brand new baby CRNA. I did tons of blocks. I did an awake intubation. I did a huge cardiac vascular case. I had to put in like a central line and all the things, right? It was insane. I literally said, I was like, I used every skill that I think I learned in school in 2 weeks. All right. So that was my first job, money, autonomy, but I had a brutal commute. So then what I ended up doing is eventually I knew I wanted to kind of branch out and do like office work. So I ended up working 1 day a week at an endo clinic. I was referred from a friend. It was kind of like her place. And I will sidebar really quick here. And I just want to like say, because I kind of alluded to this a little bit earlier, is not all offices, plastics offices, endo centers, surgery centers, not all of them are created equal. There are some very sketchy places out there for sure. So you always want to make sure when you are going to any offsite place or office, is there a glider video scope? Is there an MH cart if succinylcholine or gases are used? Is there a code cart there? Are there certain drugs there? How is the staff? And I know this sounds very basic, but just have this in the back of your mind. Not all places are created equal. And FYI, a little fun note, if you end up taking a W-2 job, you can also use your CME money because you'll get like, I think right now they're offering like 3 to 5K of CME money. You can literally purchase like McGraths and fun stuff like that. So just a little fun note there. But some places will have medical assistants and not nurses, which is fine, but there's a clear delineation of roles. Like the medical assistant and the nurse role is obviously different. So just be careful because there can be a lot of overlapping of stuff. I've also worked with some staff members that I just did not trust. I didn't know what was going on, and I've just never gone back there. So just keep that in mind when you are looking for that first job out of school. Not every place is created equal. Visit places first. The most reputable places that I tend to go to now is like I've either had meetings with them or they've have been a referral from a CRNA I trust that they work there. Vibes are really a big thing. And if you go in somewhere and something doesn't feel right, it's probably not right. So you have that nurse intuition, y'all. So don't be afraid to use that. Okay. So that was my first job. I wasn't married yet. I had no kids. I was like living my best life, commuting, personal trainer, kicking it, had a great job, all the good things. And then, like I said, and I started working 1 day a week at an endo center because I wanted to start branching out into some 1099 work. So I started there with a friend, a place that I could truly trust, and kind of built that muscle because I was working solo. Like I was the solo anesthesia provider in a standalone endo clinic. And this was, I started working in May. This was in October. So just a few months after I had graduated, but I also was working 5 days a week, way over 40 hours a week. So I really kind of like elevated myself quickly into crazy intense situations, ASA 3 and 4s, bread and butter cases, but I also did some cardiac too. Okay. So I did feel good going in and working solo, but it took me a little bit to kind of build that muscle up. So I did that like once a week. Then I got married. And I was like, you know what? I do not want to commute anymore. And I wanted to start finally checking things off my bucket list, right? Like I still had all these dreams, I still do, of things that I wanted to do. And one of those was bodybuilding. So I wanted to get into bodybuilding. So I did. So I found a part-time W-2 contract. So I could still have that W-2 income. I could still have some of the benefits that came with the W-2 contract. And then I picked up at different hospitals 1099, and I got an S corporation. I went to a tax accountant and got that, worked at different surgery centers. And I just kind of went where the wind took me, and I built relationships everywhere I could. I met CRNAs. It was great. And I will say this, y'all, networking is your lifeline. Your network is everything as a CRNA. I've gotten jobs from both of my neighbors who know plastic surgeons. I also used to hold monthly brunches with CRNAs, or every few months we'd go out to eat with a bunch of CRNAs for brunch. Everybody had to bring somebody. and we'd all talk and network, we'd exchange information. And then before you know it, you have this huge network of CRNAs. You're like, hey, there's a job here that might be good for you. Or, hey, my kid's sick. Anyone you know can pick up here. Like, so it's just, I have this huge network of 1099 CRNAs. And I mean, a lot of the jobs I get are just word of mouth, right? And the places are vetted by people I trust. So your network is everything. And if you're in any of my programs, I'm really ramping up teaching you guys how to network right out the gate from nursing school and as nurses and beyond, because it's such an important skill for getting into CRNA school, but also after. So network, network, network. I cannot talk about that enough. And we talk about it a lot in my programs, right? So even if you're like a nurse right now, keep up with your contacts. Reach out to your nursing professors every once in a while. Create relationships with managers, with charge nurses. You do not have to like everybody in order to build relationships, right? You are going to need evaluations for them. You're going to need letters one day. So just, just be a human being. Treat people the way you wanted to be treated, make people feel good, and just focus on building those relationships. And that is really how you network. Not what you can get, but what you can give. That's the key to networking, and take that with you everywhere. Put that in your pocket and take that with you everywhere. Okay. Let me see here. Okay. And then another thing about networking too is, how can I offer value here? Right. So I just kind of said, not what you can get, what can you give? How can I offer value? If you go around every nursing job, everywhere you go, even at CRNA School Clinical, anything, and your thought is, how can I offer value here? If you bring that attitude with you anywhere and everywhere you go, you will not only create an amazing network, but just an amazing career. And you will build so much confidence and so much resiliency if you're always looking at, how can I offer value with who I am uniquely. All right. Other things you can do post CRNA school. You can build your own company, guys. You can build your own company. You can have staffing agencies for CRNAs, docs. You can bid for contracts at certain places. Like, yes, you can do this as a CRNA, even in an opt-in state, which is a state that requires doctors for supervision. There's so many ways you guys can like work around this. We're not going to get into that right now, topic for another day, but just know that that's also available. Dream big. I want you to get excited about what your future could be, and also knowledgeable about all the things that are out there. So yes, you can literally have your own company. All right, let's talk a little bit about W-2 versus 1099 right after CRNA school, because I know that's a hot topic right now. And I can do a whole episode on just these. So if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to email me, follow me on social, DM me. I'll link everything down in the show notes. But I'll do a few highlights on stuff. So once again, I'm always going to steer you guys back to, what do you need? What do you need right now? What do you want as you're graduating from CRNA school? What is going to work for you? All right. So 1099 essentially just means independent contractor. Okay. 1099 independent contractor. W-2 means an individual who's formally employed by a company or an organization. So essentially you're working for an anesthesia group, right? Where 1099, you are your own independent contractor. They call them locums, right? Locums is like another word for people that kind of almost like a traveling person that goes to different places. All right. So if you go 1099, you can open up an S corporation or an LLC. I strongly, strongly suggest hiring a tax accountant that specializes with CRNAs or healthcare workers. I found mine searching on Facebook pages. You can make some calls. But if you're going to go the 1099 route, I would definitely hire a financial consultant and also have a tax advisor, or like one in the same. I have both right now. Okay. Because there's so many things you can take advantage of, and I don't have the bandwidth and the wherewithal to like deal with all of that. So I just hire it out, and it's totally worth it because there's a lot of tax breaks and a lot of things that you can do. Okay. You also have to pay quarterly taxes as well. So just something to look at. Like I said, I can literally do a whole episode on this if you guys are interested in all the ins and outs that I know. But essentially, being 1099, you can negotiate a day rate at different places. You can negotiate an hourly rate. And usually you want to get a 6 or an 8 hour guarantee. You want to have a cancellation policy in place so that you will still get paid for last minute cancellations, or at least have a clause in there that you need this much notice that you can find another shift, right? So there's a lot of those pieces you want to have in place for yourself as an independent contractor. You can also get contracts for 1099 and have set days that you work for them. I'm available to work these days. I need 6 or 8 hour guarantee. And then after 8 hours, you're going to pay me a premium rate, right? There's so many ways you can negotiate that, right? You will most likely need to carry your own malpractice, but some places will also offer you malpractice as well. When you take malpractice from a facility or a place you're working at 1099, they may drop your rate a little bit, but it just depends. Right now, it's not happening as much, but just something to notice. I went ahead and just got my own malpractice. It's also a write-off, goes in with those taxes things, right? Those tax breaks and stuff you can do. Um, and then I said too, you can do the locum contracts in your area. You can travel, do 1099. I'm going to be doing straight 1099 here very soon and just really focusing on creating my own schedule, picking up where I want, when I want. I have such a good network I've built up in the last 6 years of being a CRNA that now I'm like, okay, I just want to work with the people and the places I actually want to work with and that I enjoy, because that is the season I am in my life right now. It does take a bit of organization though, just FYI. If you're doing 1099 and, organizing, getting paid and your hours, there's programs you can use out there. I can't QuickBooks, I believe, is one of them. I kind of have my own spreadsheet system, but it does require a lot of organization. But once you get the hang of it, it's totally fine. But I literally love it. So things you can take into consideration. So W-2, you can work somewhere W-2. You can also usually pick up shifts based on what's available, right? But somebody else is going to be making your schedule for the most part, right? So you want to be able to ask, what's the hierarchy of picking vacays, holiday time, especially if you're doing call. Most packages now, you get about 5 to 8 weeks of PTO. Some will give you 2 weeks of CME trips as well. I said earlier, you can get CME money for 3 to 5K, depending on what your FTE is. And you can use that stuff for your AANA dues, equipment, like I talked about, like a video scope, shoes, x-ray lead, so many options. Some places will have a 401k with a match, health benefit. So those are kind of the big package things you're going to get with like a W-2 salary, right? 1099, you will have to cover those things on your own, which is still doable. And there are a lot of tax breaks as well. Okay. So once again, go back to your priorities. So I have done a W-2 1099 split for years. And then now I'm going to go back into strictly 1099. All right. For me, my husband carries our health benefits, which is nice. But I have my own Vanguard retirement account. I have a savings account. I have my own HSA. And when I want to travel, I can just pick up a little bit more. Like if I want to make a little bit more money, then I'll pick up a little bit more, right? So you kind of, for me, I'm like, this is how much I need to make. This is how much I want to make. And then I back my shifts into it. So you can really flex your income, which is really nice. And you can flex your income both W-2 or 1099. But I've really enjoyed doing a 1099 W-2 mix is what I've been doing for a while. And then, of course, as some of you know, I have my coaching and mentoring business. I have a social selling business. There's just so many things you can do. And I'm really into diversifying your income because everything that I do that's not anesthesia, it's still something I'm super passionate about and I love it. So once again, dream big. A lot of CRNAs are getting into aesthetics and opening their own, companies or partnering with people. Like there's so much you can do, right? So just dream big, y'all. Another question I get all the time: should I do a surgery center or a hospital straight out of anesthesia school? Once again, there is no right answer, right? For me, I wanted to have acute hospital experience. That was just super important to me. I was a trauma nurse. It's always been in my DNA to be with the sickest of the sickest and, work in I've worked in major cities. I've also worked in rural areas too, which still get very sick patients, right? So for me, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to get dirty, get in the thick of it, and really get that acute hospital experience, right? Is that important to you? Is that something you actually want to do? Do you feel like you have enough experience that you can handle things in an outpatient setting? Because the only thing is you might not have all the resources there, and things still do happen, right? And what's so funny is actually I was supposed to record this a couple weeks ago, but life happens. My life is not perfect by any means, and I will be the first person to admit that. But anyway, I was supposed to record this a couple weeks ago. But this literally happened to me last week and it was so perfect for this discussion. So long story short, I was at a surgery center. I was completely by myself. The other provider had left, but the patient was still there. So anyways, the patient started decompensating a little bit. And so I'm literally trying to do my own cases. And then the PACU nurses are like, something's going on with her. So I'm trying to figure out what's going on with this patient, doing all the things. She was hypotensive. She was clammy. I was going through all the differentials, right? The big ones: arrhythmias, heart attacks, strokes, low blood sugar, PE, bleeding, right? So all the things I was kind of going through and managing, and I ended up sending her to the ER, and this patient, literally the next day, they found that she was bleeding into her abdomen. So she would have been sent home, probably would not have made it. And so once again, I just say that is like, it was a really uncomfortable situation. I had to, I had to, talk to the surgeon, communicate with the nurses, delay my room. I had to reach out to the owner of the entire group. Like, there was a lot of things going on. So it's one thing to have really good honed in anesthesia skills, but that emotional intelligence, communication, that advocacy, being able to stand your ground and cancel something, being able to have uncomfortable conversations, recognizing, having that intuition that something was off. Even though, like, the patient was responding to fluids, her blood pressure was going up, I gave her a little bit of Narcan, like, she was responding to everything, but I was like, something isn't right. I'm like, she does not look right. Like, something is going on, right? And so, are the places you work, are they going to be supportive of you? Do you have other resources? Is it just going to be you? So just all those things I just want y'all to consider, is that it is a big responsibility doing this job. And when you are at a standalone place and everyone has gone home, or you're working with, providers you don't really know, you really have to step up and really do this big job. And only you know what's best for you. And only you are capable of knowing your capabilities and where you're kind of comfortable at this moment. So I just want you to think about that, because things do hit differently when you're in the driver's seat. Like, I remember when I started my first job in the city, and I was going to pre-op my very first patient as a CRNA. And as I saw the patient and I was walking back to the OR, it just hit me. And I was like, oh my God, no one is coming to check my work. I'm like, no one is going to make sure I ask the right questions. No one is checking my room. Like, it's literally me. And I was like, oh my God, right? But with that, and with that job, I was able to build really, really good habits that have sustained me from then and now, that I use all the time, because it was just me. So I really had to develop the confidence within myself. I had to know when to ask for help, but I also had to create systems and checks and balances for myself, so that I always knew that I was doing the right things for the patients and doing the best thing, because there was nobody coming after me and checking my work, right? And even like that scenario at the surgery center, like, I use my nursing skills, right? Like, you're building off every single thing that you've done thus far when you get to the head of the bed. But now you're the one writing the orders. You're the one giving the orders. You're the one making the calls. Like, it's you. And it does hit a little bit different, and it is a little scary, right? So I just want you guys to recognize that and know that. And it's just something, once again, just giving you stuff to think about. Dream big and think about what you need and what works for you. All right, last question I'm going to cover is, what about loans? All right. And at the time of this recording, I'm going to be very honest with you. I still have my CRNA school student loans. I started off CRNA school extremely broke, not by choice. It's just how things worked out. That's a story for another day, but I was broke. So when I was in anesthesia school, I used FAFSA, which I believe was about $20K a year. And then I took out a grad plus loan, which was, I think, $7K a semester, $5 to $7K a semester, something like that. So when I graduated anesthesia school, I believe my loan balance was about 120, 130K. And when I finished CRNA school, I had an overdrafted bank account and all my credit cards were maxed. And I would pass boards. I was a CRNA, and I just sat in a tiny studio apartment with my boyfriend, I don't even know if we liked each other half the time. And I just cried every single day. Okay. And it was a mess, right? But I got through that. I started my job. I started making money. I started paying off my loans. But then I got engaged to this guy. And what I ended up doing is I put my loans on hold. I got married. I got the dream car. I got the dream house because that is what we chose to do, right? We chose to focus on, let's get married. Let's do all the things. Let's do that. In another life, maybe I would have lived more simply. I would have paid them down. I mean, there's no right way to do this, y'all. Like, I'm just letting you know, I went the really like ratchet way and I made it and I'm doing okay. And I did okay. So I just want you to know that if things are not looking how you want them to look, there is a way that you can overcome that. You will be able to get through that. But I mean, honestly, living frugally, living more simply, getting them paid down. I mean, do what works for you, right? I am now back making payments. Like I said, I did make some big heavy payments before, but then we decided to do all the life things. And now I'm just back making payments again. And it is what it is. And it's all good. All right. But you will be okay. I know it sucks to be broke. I know it sucks to be this nurse who was like living their best life and all the things, but it's just for now. The sacrifices are just for now. They're not for forever. I wish I would have saved more. I wish I would have been a little bit better with money, but everything has worked out. I've had to forgive myself. And it is all good. I am okay. I was okay, and you will be okay too. I will link also in the show notes is Student Loan Planner. I believe his name is Travis. I love his stuff. I took his investment course for healthcare providers. I've gotten into investments. He sends amazing emails, but a really good resource talking about student loans. And he includes like CRNAs are included like in his audience. So definitely check him out. I will link that in the show notes a lot. All right, guys, to close you out, I just want you to remember a lot of our lives is laundry. It's driving, it's doing the dishes, right? It takes up a lot of our time. And if we keep chasing the giant mountaintops all the time, and they're never good enough, then we are just going to want to chase more mountaintops until we are in this endless cycle of searching for things and searching for validation to mean something about us, to feel better about ourselves. And if you really truly want to enjoy your life, whether you are a nurse that hasn't even started applying, whether you've been rejected or you're in the middle of CRNA school, I wish I would have taken this advice or been able to hear this when someone said this to me in my 20s. But when we come to grips with the fact that you in fact already belong, you belong to yourself, you belong in the rooms that you end up in, and that you are already enough without any accolade, without any acceptance letter, without any 4.0 GPA. And if you can move in life with the attitude that knowing that your worth is not inherent on achievement or productivity, you will enjoy your life so much more, and life will have so much more meaning, especially when it's messy. You will literally have way more fun in life. You belong to yourself. You are already worthy without any fancy bells or whistles. The Monday through Thursday is our lives. The majority of life is in the weekdays, not in the weekends. And if you continue living just for the weekends, you are missing out on so much. I love this quote by Dulce Chalet, if I'm saying that right. Some of our most important life skills hide in the midst of everyday frustrations. What you are doing now, what you are facing, the adversity, the good, the bad, the ugly, is shaping your future as a CRNA. It really is. I want y'all to get super clear on what your values are. What are your priorities? Know that your worth is 100% completely indisputable. A job, a paycheck, a degree does not change your worthiness. I want y'all to dream big. Your potential is limitless, and you are literally oh so capable of doing all the things that are in your heart to do. So dream big, have fun. You belong. Have an awesome week. And I cannot wait to talk to y'all soon. And I cannot wait to welcome you into the CRNA profession. Have fun building your dream life and living fully in what your potential is and what you are capable of. I will talk to you soon and see you on the next episode.